your brain is not there to make you happy. Your brain is there to make you survive. Meditation has allowed me to reconnect with my essence. I'm able to be more me, not my traumatic experiences, not the triggering things, not my anxiety, not the depression. Like, I'm able to be me. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the 20s Detox. I'm Bianca, your host, where we dive into all the things that I'm learning and unlearning in my 20s to elevate this decade. Before we get into this topic, for Spotify and Apple or any other podcast streaming platforms, make sure to follow along, and on YouTube, subscribe. I post an episode or video every single Tuesday relating to seasonal guidance, advice for living in your 20s, and kind of de-influencing your life so that you can build it of your own and live just a more authentic and peaceful life. Other than therapy, there is one thing that has been the main reason I feel why my mental health is so much better than it was like 5 or 6 years ago. Therapy, I don't want to discredit it. It is incredible for its own purposes, but without this one tool, I think that I would find myself in these constant cycles without getting out of it. And that is meditation. So if you have been drawn to meditation, I encourage you to stick around. I'll share a little bit about the lessons that I've learned, how I can meditate every single day, and the duality of that experience, because I'm not going to come here and say like, everything is perfect, everything is zen. I have all my notes here after a little journaling session. I had to think back to when I started meditating. There's a few people that have shaped my view on meditation and how I meditate. One of them is definitely Eckhart Tolle. Another one is Tony Robbins. Another one is Iris Daly. I really got into meditations from her meditations as well. She's a hypnotherapist. And my desire to get into meditation strengthened even more when I read the book, The Body Keeps a Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And as I share my journey, I'm also going to be sharing these lessons that I've learned along the way. So it was 2021. It was around the time I was graduating from university. You'll notice in a lot of my episodes, that is like this canon moment for me with my awakening, these lessons, how all of the 20s detox came to be, and also meditation, of course. I've mentioned this before about the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And that was a really random book for me to pick up because I had never read a spirituality book before. I had never really read a personal development book before. So for me to pick up this book and read was probably like the universe or God trying to help me read something like that, because I don't know how, I don't know what came about my desire to read something like that, but I would say that's the reason I got or became intrigued with meditation in the first place. And one of its main core lessons that Eckhart Tolle was saying in that book was about presence, what that means and how to experience presence again. His lessons went along, what so many of us I'm sure have heard about the importance of staying present. And why is that so important is because that's all where essence really is. I find myself either if I am anxious, I'm worrying too much and attaching too much to the future. When I'm depressed, I'm attaching too much to the past. And sometimes when you're able to finally drop into the present moment, you're able to squeeze out so much of that essence and that beauty of what's there. Meditation anchors you into that present moment. It's very easy to think about the past and the future. And as we get further into the lessons of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps a Score, you'll learn that it's actually a very natural human survival thing that we have done to want to attach to the future or want to attach to the past. So that is not something that is only in a few of us. Every single one of us has that. Some have more of a tendency to attach to the future. Some have more of a tendency to attach to the past. Some flip back and forth with that comorbidity of having both anxiety and depression at the same time. To stay present is a practice because it is not wired in how our brains work. When I first tried to meditate, okay, imagine this. I'm like sitting and I'm trying to meditate. I'm thinking this is going to be this like incredible experience in the way that Eckhart Tolle was explaining it. And as I'm sitting there and I'm trying to relax, it was like the most uncomfortable experience of my life. I was thinking about the future and the past somehow at the exact same time. Like I was thinking about all these things that I need to do. I was also thinking of it from this duty standpoint. So that meditation was almost like a time slot. When I started doing that, I defeated the purpose of what meditation is supposed to be. And that is like the first lesson that I want to tell you guys about today. And this is one of the lessons that Eckhart Tolle says, because the whole point of meditation is to step more into this sense of being, not doing. And when I'm going to do something and it's going to be in this certain slot, I have now attached a spiritual practice to time. To be is no time. That's why Eckhart Tolle says that time is a hindrance when it comes to learning more about one's spirituality more and more. And I didn't catch that for a while. Continuously for months, if not a year, I was trying to do this meditation and put this into a time slot and make it fit at a certain time. So at 7:30 in the morning, I would do my meditation and I would sit and meditate until 7:45, let's say. So for 15 minutes. Because of that consistent pull towards time, I was not allowing myself to be in a sense of being. That being is where the presence is. Time is a construct. Time is what says something's in the past, in the present, in the future. Usually every time that you look at the clock, though, the present's in the past by the second. You want to get out of time. Time will confuse you when you're trying to just be present, when you're trying to meditate. So lesson number 1, try to take time out of the equation when it comes to you doing meditation. I try to remind myself as a mantra when I try and meditate, being like, let go from what I need to worry about. Let go of how long this should look like. Let go of all of this. Just see what happens today. Just see what my body does today. And I will be honest, sometimes I cannot meditate for more than 5 minutes. And then other times I find myself, even when I do a guided meditation, I would like to sit a bit longer. And that is me listening to this feeling in my body versus the time that I had set out for that. If you are stressed about time in general, maybe give yourself a bit more buffer so that you're able to just stay there and just figure it out and see how long you want to sit there for, because you mean well when it comes to those moments when you slot out a period of time to practice mindfulness. But every time that you're too worried about the time, or even you feel proud of yourself because say you got past 15 minutes, that's just defeating the purpose of meditation. That's why meditation is so extremely frustrating, because it's really unlike any other task or goal that you're ever going to experience. There's no outcome other than reconnecting with your essence. In the beginning, the first few years, I would only do guided meditation. So I found Iris Daly's 30-day meditation. I loved it. I thought it was a great way for me to just get in the habit of it. There's also Boho Beautiful's meditations. I love the app Moonly. Moonly is a great app that I still use to this day for my meditations. I just found that it was a really easy way for me to start making that habit without thinking too much. I could just practice what it means to sit still. And when I'm sitting there in meditation, I'm listening, there was a few moments when I felt this complete bliss state. I almost felt like I was floating. And that first time that happened, where you can really sit there for a long period of time, when you get into that state, time does disappear and you are finally feeling like you're in that being state. I made the mistake of putting the pressure on myself to reach that every single time I meditated. Lesson number 2, there's no goal. Don't put a sense of success towards it, because that will slow you down. And that's what happened. I started to get really kind of frustrated with myself that I had reached this state. I thought, okay, now I'm always going to reach this. And I didn't. There were a lot of moments when I could not go more than 5 minutes again. I fluctuated from doing very guided meditations to just frequency music and then needing to go back. And even to this day, I find myself really struggling keeping a routine with meditation because I built such strong neuro associations, meaning my brain has associated a sense of environment to an activity. And so when I'm not here in my apartment where I would meditate right here on my couch, I tend to forget that I'm wanting to meditate that day. So when I'm on vacation or I go out for the weekend or I'm at my parents' house, I forget to meditate. So there's so many lessons that I'm still learning about meditation. Sometimes you're more anxious, you have more energy, and you need to get that out because your brain's going a million miles a minute. Other times I've found that when I'm a little bit more sad or lower energy, I'm able to drop into a meditation a lot quicker because I'm a little bit more calm. When I was getting really frustrated with meditation in a certain period of time, I had finished this 30-day challenge with Iris Daily, and it was great because there's that sense of accountability to stick to that, like that streak, to get back into that habit. Although things were going well, I got a little bit frustrated with myself because it wasn't feeling in the way I was supposed to feel. I was still making it in this time slot. Obviously, were 2 mistakes that were inhibiting myself from really experiencing and reaping the benefits of meditation. And that is when I came across Tony Robbins' priming meditation. I still come back to this meditation. I find, though, that it isn't what true meditation is. Sorry. But I still practice the beginning portion of the priming meditation of getting my energy out. It's like you bring your arms up in the air, you breathe in and you go, and you do that 30 times, and then you take a moment and then you do it again. I tend to do that to this day when I find that my energy is a little bit higher, or I'm having a harder time dropping into a meditative state because my thoughts are going crazy. I'm expelling that energy. I'm getting it out of my body. The purpose of yoga is to get into a meditative state easier because it's expelling that energy. So sometimes I'll also do a yoga flow before I want to sit into a longer meditation. That was like another amazing lesson that I learned through this journey of noticing that because my body shows up differently depending on the season. So in the summer months, I'm a lot more energetic than I am in the winter months. I need to alter what the practice is so that my body can reach a state to slow down and feel like it can relax. Now, getting into some practices of meditation and breathwork. Breathwork. Having regulated breaths, there's so many different ways to do it. I recommend Boho Beautiful. They have great breathwork techniques. What that is doing is starting to switch on to a parasympathetic nervous system because you're getting into a proper rhythm of breathing. Aside from the mindfulness aspect, on the physiological basis of just breathing in a regular state, your nervous system can calm down because it knows what to expect. It knows its breathing pattern. It's also why, when you're doing 10 sets and your arms are moving at the same pace, you know what to expect. And so your nervous system starts to relax and slow down, not jump so quickly into this anxious state of, I need to do this today, what about if this happens, etc., etc., etc. So you're trying to just let your body know, like, I got you, I know what comes next here with this breathing. Tony Robbins, the reason why he has this priming meditation is because he doesn't believe that you can't just have no thoughts. And he's correct, but he's missing the point of what the meditation practice is supposed to do with those thoughts. Once I learned this from The Body Keeps the Score, as well as Eckhart Tolle, I almost embrace every opportunity now when a thought comes up, because it's a way for me to strengthen this ability. I don't know if you read A Body Keeps the Score. I'll put it in the description for you guys to check out. But one of the things that Dr. Bessel van Kolk talks about is your brain is not there to make you happy. Your brain is there to make you survive. So like I said, our tendency to jump to the anxious thoughts or the depressive thoughts, meaning you're jumping to the future, you're jumping to the past, that is a survival technique, because on an evolutionary basis, back in the day when there was rustling in a bush or you had to scan a field because you wanted to see who was there to protect yourself, like all of this came from a survival standpoint. So that is very much still prevalent in our brain systems, our primal brain. It's an older part of our brain. Breathing in itself, just breathing in general, of noticing, hey body, we are not hyperventilating. We're not breathing irregularly. We're breathing in a calm state. Let's get out of this anxiety. That's another trick for your body to just like start to calm down. Your thoughts with meditation. Your thoughts will be there. They won't go away. But the whole point of meditation is to strengthen the mindful muscle of observing. So what happens naturally with this survival thing is when a thought comes up, you judge it and attach a story to it to try and label it as good, bad, safe, or unsafe. We categorize it so that we know where it stands, and it's a cheap way for our nervous system to calm down. But the problem with that is every single time we attach that story to it and categorize it, that process never ends. And you're constantly inflaming your nervous system of like, what is this? Oh, it's that. Oh, it's bad? Okay, let me ruminate and create this hypothetical story of it. And so, although for the original purpose of it, it was for survival and it was to make sure we didn't do dumb things to put us in danger, like not listen to the rustling in the bush and maybe get attacked by an animal. Although it was for that purpose, now in the modern age, that comes from dating somebody, uncomfortable conversations, the way that they reacted to something, a fear of being seen, being alone, being in a relationship, vulnerability. Like it's so complex now in its modern world, but we still react like that primal self. And that in itself is why I started practicing meditation. It was because I was like, I am so quick to go into this judgmental state and ruminate so easily that I need to strengthen this muscle of observing. There's a process that happens in your brain where there's an event that happens, you interpret it of what that means. So we naturally label and judge it. An emotion comes from that, and then the reaction comes from it. An example of that could be maybe you are communicating with your boyfriend, you're texting him, and all of a sudden there's silence. So the event is he didn't text you back in a certain period of time. The interpretation that you're going towards, oh, they're upset with me. The emotion now is I'm feeling anxious. I'm anxious because of that. And then the reaction is I keep checking my phone every 5 minutes until they message me again. That all in itself, super, super stressful. My nervous system is not calm in those states. But in reality, what could have happened? Maybe he was just texting me right before walking into a restaurant to see his family for dinner. So he couldn't message me during those 2 hours. So that is the threat system. Meditation pauses that threat system in that primal brain that happens like this and allows your prefrontal cortex to add a little bit more logic of like, maybe that's not the case. That's what meditation does. Maybe you've gone even as far as the emotion, but when the emotion hits, rather than become the emotion, meaning I am worried, I am anxious now. I notice I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling my body tense up. What's going on? And when you stop it, you're able to almost parent yourself in that same moment, being like, okay, let's not be silly and bring us to these points. It could just be from X, Y, and Z and carry on. It stops that system of a continuous rumination spiral, because that story will propel to the next. When you might be continuously thinking of new stories and stories and stories. Do you ever find yourself doing that? I realized that recently about myself this year, that it was something that I was really not good at. Like I would constantly do that unconsciously to myself, like rumination of a story, another story, another story, another story, another story, another story. An hour will go by and I'm like, what the heck have I been doing? Like, I'm driving myself crazy thinking about something that isn't even happening and never has. So meditation allows you to practice what's called the observing break when that happens. And I promise you, maybe it doesn't catch it every single time, but it catches it more times than not. For example, with me, I used to be somebody that would be very reactive with arguments with my boyfriend, with my family, with my sister, with my friends in the past. Like, I just jumped to the anger and saw red very, very quickly. I'd become defensive, but there's a lot of reasons of why that could happen. But because of my meditation practice and my breathing practices, and to slow myself down, even with breathing in itself, to just remind my brain once again, being like, hey, we're not in survival mode, like we're fine. I'm able to say, oh, I got triggered in that moment without letting that trigger take a hold of me, and take a moment to be like, I just need to calm myself down and continue maybe this conversation another time. That is the beauty of meditation. That is why in itself, I find that it has helped me more than therapy. Because with therapy, I think about it after it's happened. That is really easy to do. But when you are triggered in a moment that could be extremely hard for you to not just get blinded in, if you have gone through traumatic experiences where somebody said something extremely similar, or something about that experience was so similar to potentially like a traumatic event, or even the smell was similar to what was going on. It is so hard in those moments to not have that trigger take a hold of you. But with meditation practices, I'm able to have all these little breaks in that experience because my brain itself has created these systems to not go to the primal immediately, to say like, but we have some intelligence to us. What's going on? Remember when this happened. This is not happening right now. Breathe. Take a breath. It's even reminding you to take a breath. For me, I find that it really, what it does, it connects to my highest self in a way that allows me to parent myself, be able to work through things more in live time without constantly needing to go through some sort of experience where I got immensely triggered and lost myself and then had to talk about my therapist about what happened. And that is, I occasionally still go through that, okay? But I'm so happy that this meditation practice has lessened that. And I'm able to be more me, not my traumatic experiences, not the triggering things, not my anxiety, not the depression. Like, I'm able to be me. Meditation has allowed me to reconnect with my essence. So, will there be thoughts when you meditate? Of course there will be. It's going to be some silly things like, I have to do laundry today. What am I going to make for dinner? Oh, I need to send this email. And you're able to say like, okay, thank you for showing me that, and go away. Go away. I'm dropping into my body. Every single time you practice observing a sentence and letting it go away, that is rewiring your brain to do that and helping you later on. Is this making sense? Sometimes I feel like the things I talk about can be extremely like abstract and can be difficult to understand because I'm just like in this flow of trying to like explain what's coming down and like say it properly. There's 2 books I really encourage you to read, and it's New Earth by Eckhart Tolle and The Untethered Soul. I find that those 2 really allowed me to understand who I was, like what it meant to be me as a being, my essence, away from the labeling that we do, the good, the bad, the safe, the unsafe, even the thoughts that come with the emails and the laundry and the dinner, away from that, the roles that I have. And the more that you're able to understand that, the more you're able to be recognizing when something isn't you. There is the thoughts, but the thoughts themselves are not you. there's your emotions, but they're not you. You are observing this happening and creating an identity with it. But because we're human and our brains are wired in a survival way, we attach to those thoughts. We attach to those emotions in order to help us get through life, you know? And that's why sometimes it is really great to just have those moments of meditation to get away from that. It can be the most freeing experience to just no longer attach to any of those things and just let yourself be in the space without any of it. You need to know how to experience it for yourself. One of the things that Eckhart Tolle says is it's kind of funny that you need time to realize you don't need time. He went into explaining how even Buddha, how he was able to really learn more about the essence of meditation and who we all are. It took him a long time. Sometimes it takes like 10, 15 years to really understand what it means to let go of this sense of time. Time, like I said, I started with that for a reason. Time takes us out of being present. Remind yourself to not get too attached about how long this is supposed to be, because that is going to really block yourself every time. You might even sense yourself snapping back out of that sense of peace because you're thinking about that time. You need to get some of the techniques down. So I do encourage guided meditations. Like I said, boho, beautiful, great meditations. There's a lot of free ones on YouTube, but if you want to pay for some other ones, there's a very affordable platform, Moonly, that I've spoken about before, whom I love. They're really great. There's Insight Timer. There's a lot of meditation apps that you can do. Find the one that you resonate with, find the one that you like, because that's going to help you come back to it. And it also will allow you to stay accountable and allow you to get back into it in a more effortless state. Your breath, though, is the thing that's going to keep you grounded, because your breath will remind your nervous system we are safe. We don't need to think about the future. We don't need to think about the past. You'll actually notice when you try and just focus on your breath and breathe deeply, these thoughts will not come as often because you're just calming yourself down. And if you feel like those thoughts are crazy, then like I said, you can try and get out a little bit more of those through a yoga practice, even running, a workout, doing this exercise that Tony Robbins does. There's a lot of different ways to get some energy out to do it. I don't recommend laying down meditating because you'll just fall asleep, and that's a different brainwave state. Is there a right time to do it? No. I need you to just play around with it. Have some fun with it. Try not to get frustrated by the thoughts. Every single time that there is a thought, it's an opportunity to strengthen it. So almost embrace when it happens, because you're like, thank you for showing this to me. Let's let this go. I also sometimes just give myself the mantra of, body, you know what to do more than my brain. I'm going to let you guide the way. How do you want to feel? How do you want to breathe? What do you want to do? Oh, I will say, here's some of the meditations that I like to do. Keep in mind, I am very much still struggling with the time thing. Like Eckhart Tolle says, it takes 15 years for somebody sometimes to get over that. So I do sometimes still find myself, thinking about, okay, let me just get this done for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But I tend to be drawn to either just frequency music or a guided meditation that begins with a bit of breath work, focusing on the breath. For the most part, I'm just really trying to practice that, observing. If I feel depending on a time of the year, the moon cycle, whatever, occasionally I will do the priming meditation episode by Tony Robbins when I'm finding that a little bit of self-doubt is creeping up and I want to drop back into a more positive state. When I find myself feeling jealous, more closed off from love, I'll do a loving kindness meditation more. That is actually scientifically proven to expand your telomeres in your DNA, probably because it's a sense of nurturing. You're like literally thinking about giving love to everything around you, everybody around you, including people you're having difficulty with. That's a great one. Sometimes I'll do chakra balancing because that can really be beneficial when you're struggling with certain things like sexual shame, not allowing yourself to experience the pleasures of life. That can be like your sacral chakra. It can be maybe if you're dealing with a lot of fear, of a sense of security, like your root chakra can be really good for that. Self-confidence, your solar plexus. Another thing beyond loving kindness, you can do one that's dedicated to your heart chakra. Throat, when you're not able to express yourself, you're feeling something is a bit off there. Intuition, you're thinking you're not really connected to your intuition. That can be great. And your crown, there are some that's dedicated to that, but in general, just meditating and being open to what comes through that is really strengthening your crown chakra. Anywho, was that enough about the meditations? Was there anything else that you wanted to know about this? Maybe I'll put another one out. I just have never ever put out a meditation one before. It felt really daunting for me. I'm finding even talking about this a bit difficult because it's really talking about how to get into your essence, and that journey can be different. I'm still very much on that journey and will be, for a while, forever. Yeah. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Once again, if you did, please share it with somebody who might resonate with it. I know some of you know about this, but I have a guide, Align Your Life with the Seasons, a whole workbook. It's for every single year, although I've labeled it as 2026 because I update it every year. I put an episode last week all about summer's energy, what it means to live seasonally in the summer. And if that has really resonated with you, then there's always a preview that you can check out for that guide. And yeah, I would appreciate you for just looking into it and maybe purchasing it. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week. Bye.